Well, welcome everybody. It's so good to see you all. Welcome to our Slocan Valley Services Committee meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. And to begin, I'd like to state that we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. I'll need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Director Casely, seconded Director Popoff. Director Popoff, so your agenda items got on. I noticed that they're on. So motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor? Sorry, I'll get it. I'll get there. All in favor, and that passes. Good job. So we have receipt of the minutes, the February 26th, February 25th.
Chair, if I may interrupt, I wanted to add something to the agenda before we adopted it, and you cut me off.
Oh, I cut you off. I'm sorry. I thought they were added, but okay, so there was an additional item that's not on here?
Yes, for the May 27th agenda, I put in a request to you and General Manager Davison that we could add a discussion item that the commission meets every other month instead of the current 4 meetings per year. And I don't see that on the agenda, so I'd like to add that to the agenda. And before we move it, I believe we need 2/3 majority to be able to do that.
Yes. Oh, I see. You're right. So it's the schedule again. Okay. Sure. So to adjust the agenda, all in favor to add that item? We've got 2/3. That passes. And then motion to essentially friendly amendment to motion to adopt as amended, that happened. All in favor. So that's a little bit herky jerky. Did you grab that, the movers and the seconders, Christy or Trisha?
Yeah. It would be
Okay.
Alana, but I'm pretty sure
Alana?
she got it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Alana, there you are. Yep. Okay. Sweet. Okay, so we have no delegations. So staff report. Oh, Director Fike, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to move to enable Councillor Moss from New Denver to have freedom to speak at the floor.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Director Popoff, all in favor? That motion passes. Oh, there you are. Sorry, it's taking me a little while. It's been a very, very long day already. Okay, staff reports. So we have the service case analysis for the North Slocan Lake Library service.
Yes,
Chair, if I may interrupt again, did we have a motion to receive the minutes, or they may be received with the adoption of the agenda?
We didn't have a motion to receive it. It just says has been received. So I wasn't sure if that was a different process here or not. Do we need a motion?
I will move that we receive the minutes.
Okay, seconded Director Casely. Any errors or omissions? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor? That motion passes. Okay, Trisha, over to you on the service case analysis.
Yes, good evening. Thank you, and through the chair. So for the topic of the North Slocan Library service, so for many of you, excuse me, on this call, know that the staff report that is in the agenda for today was received at the board on April 15th, I believe was the April date. And at the time, the recommendation in that staff report that was prepared by Tom Duell was declined at the board level and referred back to the committee. So in the agenda, what you have is that original report on the service case analysis of and a recommendation through Tom on how to proceed or what a next step would be should the commission wish, or sorry, the committee, I'll get it right one of these days.
We're
Should the
getting there.
committee, should the committee wish to proceed with a bylaw development that would then, of course, come back to this committee before going to the board with a recommendation. So the concept, again, I don't want to repeat things that you probably, many of you already know, but the concept of the report from Mr. Duell is that the reading room in New Denver doesn't qualify as a library under the Library Act. So therefore, a service to create a service to fund a library is not something that could be done. So unless all of the work was done, and it sounds like there's considerable cost incurred to establish an actual library, that was felt to be cost prohibitive. But what the option, and it's noted in the recommendation of the report, could be that this committee consider directing staff to prepare a service establishment bylaw for a literacy contribution service within a defined portion of electoral area H, Silverton, and New Denver, if they wish to proceed in that manner. So maybe I'll just leave it at that. I see Director Popup's hand.
Okay, Director Popov, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I believe everybody had the opportunity to read the report, and this has been ongoing for, I don't know, Colin, a couple of years at least. It's nothing new. We've discussed it at our different meetings that we've had, and I'd like to move the recommendation in the report that the board directs staff to prepare a service establishment bylaw for a literacy contribution service within defined portion of electoral area H, Silverton, and New Denver.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it, Pike.
Okay. Director Fike, discussion.
Okay, I could lead off. For about $15 a year in taxation, a household can borrow books all year instead of buying them. 1 or 2 books already cost more than that. I think families will benefit the most as kids go through books really quickly, and this replaces hundreds of dollars in purchases, and homeschooling families especially benefit. People from Silverton Area H already use the Reading Center, and this just spreads the cost more fairly. And right now, New Denver taxpayers are covering something the wider area uses. It's also the cheapest way to provide this kind of service. If each community tried to do its own version, it would cost far more. And I think by removing the membership fee, I would say it means more people will actually use it, especially those who need it most.
Through the chair, there, Director Gordon does have her hand up. I can see it. I don't know if everyone can see it. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. And just a quick point of order for how this works. Like for New Denver, like would Director Casely be the voting member at the committee? And because Director Fike is alternate director on the regional district board. So is there, I'm just curious, like I would think that there would be only one voting member for each area.
Yeah, if I can speak to that,
Yeah.
Chair Lon.
Yeah.
And through the chair is, and you are exactly correct. Director Fike is actually the alternate for Director Casely, and he does not have a vote, and we have to move a recommendation to give him speaking privileges.
Okay.
At this meeting. So I move that recommendation to give him speaking privileges.
Okay, moved by Director Popoff, seconded Director Gordon, all in favor. That motion passes. Sorry, it's just taking me a little while to get my feet under me for this services committee. But I was like, hold on. There's a few folks from New Denver here. So Director Casely, you're the voter moving forward. Okay, Director Gordon, go ahead.
Thank you to through the chair to staff. I'm not too sure if this is the time to bring up. I have some concerns with the service case analysis, and I'm wondering if this is the time to bring it up, or would it come back to us after it goes? My concern here is if it goes to board to write the bylaws on this service case analysis, and then it comes to us, and then I bring up my concerns, that's going to totally change everything in the service case analysis. Do you want to hear that now, or do you want to wait until that comes back to us?
I think it makes sense that we hear from it now. We don't want to move forward in a direction if that's yeah. So go ahead.
Okay, I came prepared, so I have a few questions and comments. Okay, in the past, the Reading Center was funded through the community development grants. This was prior to Walter becoming the RD Area H director, so this goes way back into the history. This is when it first started. Under 4.0, the proposed solution, it states the extent of the proposed service would be concurrent to the boundaries of the new Denver fire protection area. My concern with this is it excludes Hills, Red Mountain Road, Enterprise Creek, Cody, and Sandon, and they have a lot of users to the library system itself, so I think they should be included in the service area. That was one of my questions, if the boundaries could be extended on this to get them included, if that was possible. The service case analysis explains the difference between a library and the literacy service. The survey that was sent out in 2023 shows that users wanted to see systems like the One Card system and ebooks available. These programs are only offered under a library service and not under a literacy service. So according to the regional's facility report presented to us last meeting, it showed that the library service was wanted, not a literacy service. So I'm curious how this is going to give the residents the services that they wanted from that survey.
Okay, just one.
Do you want me to stop? Yep.
Yeah, because I want to. So your first question was surrounding changing the service area boundaries. Manager Davidson, do you have a response to that?
My only, through the chair to Director Gordon, my only response to that is that as part of the development of the bylaw, those boundaries get defined. And so if there's a reason to look at that boundary, that could be looked at that time. And so if there's a boundary that makes sense that we should be aware of, that would be just important feedback to provide to us. But that, like when you establish a new service, everything from decision-making authority, service area boundaries, participants, requisition maximums, operating budgets, etc., all get considered as part of that establishment bylaw. So all of those things are part of that discussion, if that helps.
Okay.
Okay, so if we move forward with the motion that's on the table, it would not preclude that discussion or changing boundaries. It would be part of that process.
And does that allow a participant not to participate come that time?
Through the chair, under a new service bylaw, the boundary is getting, to my knowledge, the boundary is getting created as to whatever the group is wanting to see created. You can draw that boundary in whatever way you like. However, of course, to go to, you're going to take this to an approval process of some sort. So there'd have to be some kind of expectation that the boundary you're creating makes sense and makes sense to the service provision of the region you're trying to serve. So it's you can draw that boundary in whatever way you like, from what I know.
And one final question, if I can.
Yeah.
no offense to the RD staff, but the amounts in the 5-year financial plan for the general admin fee and the community service fee seems quite high. It's over $2,000 a year from a requisition that's just under 9,500. So I feel that's quite high to, like I said, again, no offense to staff, but there's not much work for the RD to do in regards to taking the money from taxpayers to cut a check back to New Denver. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a different way to go about this and do this through the community development grants, until we have a better idea of, I've been hearing rumblings of New Denver wanting to pair with NACUSP. And if that's the possibility, then maybe we want to be looking at a regional library system, not just all these pieced together partnerships. Those are just my comments.
Okay, thank you. Director Casely.
Well, just to clarify that Red Mountain Road would be included in the fire services area, but it would be more probably suited to, I was kind of shocked to see that used as the boundary as versus the Rec 6 boundary, which then would cover everybody that actually uses it.
Okay. Director Moss, or alternate Director Moss.
Actually,
Councillor Moss.
I am a New Denver councillor, and
Yeah.
a few years ago, because of long time concern and questions about how we could enhance services of our reading center, the Village of New Denver formed a library status committee to research different alternatives. How could we improve the library? Since then, we've done tons of research. We've done surveys. We've spoken to provincial library staff and ministers. We formed a society. We've visited every library in the West Kootenay and Grand Forks and Cranbrook. And the conclusion we came to is ideally to enhance services, some type of sustainable funding, ongoing funding, guaranteed funding is the answer. Our idea of a North Slocan library service, North Slocan, is because our volunteers and members come from the entire North Slocan Valley, from Enterprise Creek to Summit Lake. And the budget we've been working with RDCK staff with is expenses are primarily operational costs currently borne and have been for quite some time by the Village of New Denver. And we felt it was only fair that these costs be shared among North Slocan Area H residents who comprise the members and volunteers of our library. So that was the premise behind it all. Of course, there are 3 main library models available. There's the municipal library model, which is quite expensive for small communities like ours. There's the regional district model, which Mayor Gordon spoke to. And there's the Public Library Association model, which was grandfathered in 1995. Currently, the majority of libraries in BC still operate under the grandfathered PLA model. Go figure. But because we can't be a PLA library, we can't offer the BC One card or ebooks. So provincial library staff and ministers advised us at 3 UBCMs, we spoke to them, to try and come up with a service agreement with the NACUSP library, because they are a PLA library and can offer the BC One card and ebooks. So we've developed a good relationship with the Cusp Library Board and administrator. And currently we're working on a very loose arrangement where if somebody, one of our members wants access to the BC1 card or ebooks, they basically become the Cusp Library member. So that's where the rumors, I guess, about the Cusp Library affiliation, that's what that's all about. So basically, in Tom Dewell's or RDCK's report, staff's report, I think the initial rate per thousand is 0.022, which is very minimal. It's one of the lowest rates in the West Kootenay, from what I can understand. And I'm not quite sure of the math, but I think on a $600,000 house, it's something like $15 a year. But under this arrangement, memberships would be free. A family membership is $15 a year. Single membership is $10 a year. So the two existing members, the tax burden when considering a free membership would be nil. Our hope is that because we could offer free membership, we could increase our membership, increase our volunteers, because volunteers then would realize the library has sustainable funding, and maybe volunteers wouldn't have to work so hard to help keep our library afloat. So that's some of the reasoning and background behind this situation. Obviously, we can't become an official library because of the reasons I just mentioned. A regional library would be great, but that's going to take a long, long time to get all the parties together and the provincial government to come up with a regional library. So for now, our committee's solution is some type of service committee sustainable funding. I don't know if I can say anything else, but I can answer questions if I can.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Motts. Director Popoff?
Thank you, Chair. And through the chair, there's been a lot of work done on this in the past, and Colin Moss has spearheaded it for the village of New Denver in doing this. My question would be is once we establish that bylaw, is how do we vote on it? Is it going to be through a referendum, alternate approval process? Is it going to be all combined as one service where we have one vote, including Silverton, New Denver, and Area H, which runs from Memphis Creek all the way to Summit Lake, just a little bit south of the cusp? Is it going to be one referendum to include everything as one service? And that has been done in the past where it's all one service. And if Mayor Lund recalls, that's how we established our fire service to include Slocan and the fire service as one vote throughout the Area H and Slocan. So that would be the question that I would ask, and that would probably provide the opportunity. If it's split vote, Area H votes on its own, New Denver on its own, Silverton on its own, and if Silverton votes against it, then they're excluded and the defined area is different. And that probably would answer Director Gordon's question with it, they be included or not. According to the survey has got positive response from all of Area H, New Denver and Silverton on this. So this is something that I would look forward when that bylaw gets established, whether we will have the opportunity to take a look at it. And I see General Manager Davison probably has a comment on that. Thank you.
Go ahead, General Manager Davidson.
Again, I don't want to speak out of turn, so I'm still gaining my own confidence with my knowledge. But I believe, Director Popoff, that if you go to referendum as a split vote, where meaning the referendum will either fail or succeed if all three in this case, all 3 areas vote in favor, that you can't then go, oh, okay, that group wasn't interested, therefore we'll proceed with the next one, because it changes a variety of things within that referendum. In particular, the financial plan could be quite different. And so, to my knowledge, you would need to then reconsider whether you would go back out for a referendum under a different framework. So I don't believe that that would be how that would work. I think you would have to make that decision up front as part of preparing to go to elector approval, whatever the process may be. Feel free to correct me or go, Trisha, go do some more homework and ask some more questions, because I'd happily do that. If, in a particular, Walter, I know you have tons of knowledge on this, so if I am out of turn, please feel free to correct me.
Through the chair, if I can respond, or I see Director Gordon's got her hand up. Maybe I'll go after her and I'll
Yeah, or if it's on the same topic, Director Popoff, go ahead. Was it a quick response?
Yeah, so my concern about that is combined Area H from Memphis Creek all the way to Summit Lake has more population than the 2 villages combined. So if all of Area H that's there votes no, then it doesn't go forward if it's all one referendum to include everybody. So that's the question that I would ask Tom Dool when he develops this bylaw. How is the voting process going to go? And going back in past history, generally, because we're all joined together, it'll be one referendum for all of us. That's my take, but I could be wrong. Like Manager Davison said, we'll have to take a look at the Local Government Act and how we are going to be voting on that one. Alternate approval process or a referendum would be a decision that the board can make or we can make on that one. But do we combine all the areas together, or do we vote separately for each area? And that's the question that I would have. My past experience is because we're all joined together, boundaries there, it would be all one vote.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah. Okay, Director Gordon, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. There. Through the chair to everybody. I appreciate all the work that New Denver has done to get this service case analysis going. I understand their frustrations. I've been a part of a few meetings and I totally understand where you're coming from. I am not in support of a new service that's going to increase our taxation without increasing the services to the public. We do have other means to fund this through our community development grants, which both New Denver and Silverton have quite a bit of money in surplus through. I think we can continue through this flexible funding model while exploring a stronger relationship or partnership regionally, because that's it sounds like the majority of the population actually wants. They want more services. And what concerns me is we're going to have a new service and we're not going to, there's no added things, and we're just we're taxing our taxpayers. And right now our taxpayers are maxed out, and I'm concerned with adding more services.
Okay. Further discussion. Councillor Moss, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
During our research, there are areas that did go to referendum and vote as separate areas. And if there's an area that votes via the referendum to not be included, then their residents have to pay library membership fees. The other areas that vote for a service get free membership. So that's what we've run across. I guess it comes down to how badly do you want to support your library? How important is a library to you? In our research and visiting all these other libraries, contrary to popular opinion, because of the digital revolution, libraries are not diminishing or becoming less popular. It's just the other way around. I highly recommend in your travels, you visit West Kootenay libraries. You'll be amazed at what people are using them for. It is crazy. And to me, it comes down to wanting to support your library, sustained, guaranteed funding. How important it is to you.
Just to confirm, this is a literacy service, not a library service. Just to confirm, they're two separate things.
Say that again. I didn't quite understand.
Through the chair, please. Director Gordon, go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair to Director Moss. This is a literacy service. This is not a library service, and they are two completely separate things. This is my problem. It's the same service, but added taxation. If that makes sense.
Understood.
Yeah.
The reasoning behind taxpayer-based funding is that we could improve library services.
Okay. Further discussion. We have it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? That motion carries. So there'll be more in future conversation as the.
Can you record me as opposed, please?
Okay. Director Gordon's recorded as opposed.
Confirmed. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, and there will be more discussion as this moves forward. New business, Galena Trail Management. So Director Popoff, you are to provide the committee with a discussion on the Galena Trail Management by the North Slocan Valley Trail Society. Go ahead, Director Popoff. Oh, you're on mute. Oh, Director Popoff, you're on mute.
There you go.
Perfect.
I try to keep my mouth zipped or whatever, and I keep forgetting to unzip it. Anyways, in committee, we don't record opposed votes. It's only at the board table we do.
Okay.
So speaking to the next item, the Galena Trail Management, and I'll go back a little ways. This has been kicking around for at least a year, if not longer. The intent of that was the Galena Trail, regional district holds tenure on the Galena Trail, and we manage it through our taxation, and basically all 3 villages participate in the taxation for the Galena Trail. Well, we had a discussion on this at our commission. That was Roseberry Parklands Commission. And the intent was to see if we can basically have BC Rec Sites and Trails take over the tenure for the Galena Trail, because it's been costing us a lot of money. The bridges that have to be replaced, the slides that have to be replaced, and everything else. Therefore, we arranged a meeting with John Hawkins, who is BC Rec Sites and Trails for basically all of interior of BC. We did have that meeting at the last UBCM, and all the participants in the service were invited, including Slocan and Silverton. Obviously, Slocan had conflicting meetings, and so did Silverton. So the 2 representatives from Slocan and Silverton did not show up at that meeting, but Director Casely was there, and I was there with Stuart Horn. And we did talk to John Hawkins, and he reversed the tables on us. He says, no, we don't have the money to take tenure on the Galena Trail. How would you guys like to take tenure on the trail from Slocan to the Dam Inn? And, it was really challenging, but the definite answer was no. So we looked at when Manager Shirko was still general manager of the service, I had a good chat with him, and he suggested, why not we have one of our societies that manage either the trail from Roseberry to Summit Lake or the North Slocan Valley Trail Society take over not the tenure, but the management of the trail. The regional district would still hold the tenure, and but it would be managed, rather than by the regional district, it would be managed by the North Slocan Valley Trail Society. So I did approach the North Slocan Trail Society, and I believe Coolin was the chair at that time, and talked to him, and he was in favor of that. Now it's Gerald Wagner, who is the chair of the North Slocan Trail Society. And I did have a conversation with him, and he says, yes, we would definitely, would like to take over the management of that trail, because they manage a lot of the trails in the northern portion of the Slocan Valley. So that's a little bit of a preamble here, and I do have a recommendation, if it's okay with the chair, that I'd like to move, or does anybody wants to enter the discussion at this point before I move my recommendation?
No, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Director Fike.
Alternate director.
Alternate Director Fike, yeah. Walter, Gerald, he's the vice president now, but that's okay. He's still on the board. He said they would like to take it over. I'm interested. That's not my impression, but interested in discussion of taking it over. And if they were to manage it, where would the funds come from?
If I may, Chair, it would be a grant and aid to the society. Okay. It would be, we'd have to go through a service establishment bylaw, et cetera, establish a service, and it would be a grant and aid to that. Not just go over. I'll make the recommendation, and then I'll speak to the recommendation if I may.
Yeah. For discussion, go ahead. Make your.
And motion. The recommendation would be recommendation to the board that staff explore the possibility of providing a grant and aid to the North Slocan Valley Trail Society for the management of the Galena Trail. And if I get a second on that, I can speak to it.
Okay, seconded. Director Casely.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of an analysis on this, other than the material and what we have to spend. In 2025, our salaries and benefits to our parks service people was $35,300. In 2026, in the budget right now, salaries and benefits to manage the trail is $28,500. Now, once we do the exploring, the analysis on this, they will come up with a figure. If it's going to be more in the grant and aid to do that, then we possibly will decide not to move forward. But if it's going to be considerably less, then it will reduce taxation. And taxation, as Director Gordon may have mentioned, is a concern to all our residents, not only Area H residents, the municipal residents, and all of regional district. So that's it for my speech.
Further discussion? I think I just make the comment. I'm in favor of it, and it would be exploring and bringing information back to the services committee as well. So, is it at your hands up, Director Casely? Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was trying to find the hand thing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea. My only concern here would be where we get into the same jackpot we've kind of gotten into with the Summit Lake Ski Hill, where 90% of the the ski hill needs more money than what we've got a budget for insurance. So I would like to know where the insurance is going to be covered from, because for us to cover the insurance, whether it's a regional district, even a ski hill, which I've actually talked to our insurance companies, which is all the same insurance companies that we all use as municipalities, is very low compared to what they're paying. It's just, are you willing to take the risk for it of having a society run it? So that would be one area that I would like staff to really explore, because that's the part that gets out of hand. As we can see.
Director. Oh, sorry.
As we can see with the Summit Lake Ski Hill.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Director Popoff, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And good point, Director Casely. We don't want to sit there and pay a $30,000 insurance cost. And this is why, to explore the possibility. And from my point of view, when I look at it, we don't hold tenure on the ski hill, but we do hold tenure on the trail. So we would retain the tenure holder and hopefully cover it under our regional district insurance policy. That would be my hopes, but when they explore it, they'll come back, and if it comes back $30,000 for insurance, then we're defeating the purpose of reducing taxation.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? No hands up. I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion passes. Next up, we have the process of Slocan Valley Services Committee agenda items. Back to you, Director Popoff.
I seem to be, through the chair, I seem to be monopolizing the meeting here, and that is not the intent. And, the question I have is agendas. How do we set agendas? I've chaired a few committees and commissions, and normally we get the agenda about 7 days before to provide our comments. Right now, what we're getting is an email from Jenna saying, do you have any items for the agenda? Well, as a director, I don't know what's on the agenda to start with. I might have items for the agenda that's already on the agenda. So what I would like to see, and not just my own personal belief, and this is why I brought it up for discussion, is basically staff generally develops the agendas for commissions and committees. So what I would like to see is staff develop the agenda and mail it to us directors 7 days before the agenda gets adopted for our input into the agenda. Then we see what's on the agenda, and we can provide our input to add to the agenda. And then the agenda is developed and published, and published as early as possible on the regional district website, so our communities can take a look at it. Our residents can take a look at what's on the agenda, and our meetings are open to the public. They can join in on the meeting, and when public time, can ask their questions on there. So that would be my recommendation, and hopefully maybe Trish Davison has a little better idea than I do on this regarding agendas. How does it happen in other areas? I'm not too sure. I can only speak for the commissions and the committees in Area H.
Go ahead, Trisha, for response.
Yeah, through the chair. It's such a great topic, Walter, and actually one we've been talking about in the office just this past week, because all the call for agenda items, the way you saw it, is common across all of the commissions and committees. But I had the very same comment just a week ago to say, if we don't tell the commission or committees what we already know to put on the agenda, it can feel like we are behind the 8 ball or not necessarily aware of what is pertinent to the committee, which of course we are. And so figuring out a better system 7 days in advance, to be honest, I think that's reasonable. Sometimes it can be very challenging to know for sure whether some of the information we have is going to be ready for those in that time frame to be able to put it on the agenda and have confidence that we're going to be able to talk to it. But that said, finding a way to improve that communication where you have some idea as to at least the broad stroke topics that we know to put on the agenda, may help with its formulation. So it is something that literally crossed my radar in this past week. And so if you can leave that with us, but certainly we know there's many things that commissioners will come across or have that they would like to bring forward or ensure are on the agenda, because sometimes our priorities don't necessarily align. And so feel free to always let us know. Like, I wouldn't want to take that away from the commissioners to make sure that you have the opportunity to raise important topics and then potentially give us sufficient time to be able to respond. Because that's the other component, is if a commissioner raises an agenda item too late and we then don't have the ability to respond, suddenly you're waiting, upwards of 2 months before we're able to bring back an appropriate staff report or some form of communication. So it kind of goes, there's kind of two sides to that in trying to support the work of the group.
Okay, thank you. Director Popoff, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you, Chair. And through the Chair, I think, Tricia, you've got the gist of it. And you've already saw the flaw in it. You're already in process of taking a better look at it rather than me coming up with that. So my intent is, staff develop, like I mentioned, other committees, staff develops the agenda. And then we sends it to us. We take a look at it and give us a time limit, 1 or 2 days or 3 days to respond to the agenda. To put anything else that we want on the agenda. And then the staff develops the agenda and sends it to us, give us another few days to take a look at it and read what's on there, do our homework, do a little bit of research on it, what we see on the agenda. But I'd like to make a recommendation that we have staff take a look at the agenda process and come up with a solution to us or a recommendation to us for our next meeting, if that's possible. But I see Director Gordon's got her hand up. Maybe she's got a better suggestion than I do.
Okay, so we have a tentative motion. Go ahead, Director Gordon.
I would support that motion that Walter has made. I'm in agreement with getting it a few days early. As many are aware on this call, the Village of Silverton actually has committee of the whole meeting before our shared services, so we can discuss it as a council. So I can bring back their thoughts and concerns on items that are already on the agenda. It just saves the process of trying to wait for another 2 months until I'm able to talk to my council and bring it back. So I'm in full support of getting an agenda a little bit earlier.
Preliminary. With that being said, is staff open to, like, if something bubbles up at a council meeting for discussion at this services committee, having an open email process? Or I guess that's if Director Popoff moves his motion, we can come back to it. Go ahead, Director Popoff.
Yes, so you've read my mind. Mm-hmm. I'd like to make a recommendation that we direct staff to take a look at our agenda setting and come back with a recommendation to the Slocan Valley Services Committee, what they figure would be the most expedient way to have the agendas and provide input from directors to the agenda.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? Director Gordon. Discussion on, no hands up, all in favor? That motion passes. Okay, next up we have the shared services contribution funding process. So Director Gordon is to provide the committee with a discussion regarding accountability and transparency with the contribution services. Director Gordon, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Through the chair, all of the directors received an email from me a few weeks ago regarding this, my proposal here. What I'm looking for is to give some accountability and transparency to our taxpayers and ourselves regarding the allocation and contribution services we currently have and any future ones we may enter into. I'd like to propose that we request a 5-year financial plan, a work plan for a couple of years to show where the monies will be used, and the board of directors for the societies managing or overseeing these services. I'd like to see these mandatory each year for them to receive their grant monies if possible. I believe they do this in most of the other shared service models, so it should be relatively easy for staff to roll into our services. I'm thinking, I'm hoping. And it'll also help incoming directors understand the services a little bit better when they come in the fall with their new election.
Okay, thank you. Director Popoff.
Yeah, I would fully support that, but I'd like to see that expanded a little bit. Like with our own budgeting process, we do a 5-year plan. And I don't think so would be unreasonable for example, the ski hill or the cemetery that we provide a grant and aid to, or some other organization we provide a grant and aid to, for them to take a look and come back and give us, their 5-year plan. And when you look at it, generally, if it's not a regional district service per se, but it's a grant and aid to a society that manages that service, they have, like a good example with the North TV Society. The infrastructure they have belongs to the society. It does not belong to the regional district. On dissolution of the society, it's going to be their problem to take the tower down or maybe the equipment. But also, I'd like to see them have a reserve fund. If a piece of equipment fails, that they don't go back and ask for a grant to replace that equipment. So basically, a financial plan, a 5-year financial plan, would not be out of order as far as I'm concerned to request that the responsible people, they manage a society, that they get funding from the regional district, a grant and aid to manage their organization. And I don't believe it's an unreasonable request. Rather than 2 years, I'd like to see it extended to a 5-year.
Okay. Manager Davison, go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I did a little bit of research on this for the benefit of the group tonight. So there are many commissions and committees that have a process, a bit of a like rotating door of inviting, whether it's groups receiving a contribution or grants and aid or some form of funding through the regional district, where they are asked to come and present any number of information, and all of the pieces that you talked about are I've seen in varying ways. It is, in some cases, I know some groups are very diligent at coming. Others come to every meeting. In some cases, it's a topic of conversation around kind of budget time. So in particular, if a group is requesting additional funding for something, that it's they're being brought to the committee or invited to come and speak to the committee on behalf of what their request is, and then also provide a whole bunch of other information to you at your request. The notion of it being required, I do know or learned that the regional district has it's on their work plan. It certainly won't be done in time, say for this year, but it is on their work plan to develop a framework or policy around those contribution agreements or other parties that receive funding through other financial service agreements, about setting that framework so that it's common across the whole regional district, so that it's not like, oh, this is what's happening in Slocan Valley or this is what's happening in Salmo. That will come to be more of a larger discussion to do exactly what Director Gordon is talking about, that transparency and accountability component. So I think I don't know for sure within the groups within the Slocan Valley, but I do know from my experience in other commissions that sometimes this can be a little bit foreign to some groups. So kind of working with them to move them along in the process can be really important. So just when thinking about how this committee may like to put together a bit of a rotating schedule or some form of process to invite people, I think to bring them along with us to move forward versus expecting it to be perfect on the first go. I just sort of caution and set that expectation because you just never quite know. But the fact that we're engaging with them and that we're asking those parties to come, and whether it's present as a delegation or be part of the meeting, I've seen it done both ways. There is lots of opportunity for you to proceed in that way. So I just wanted to throw that out for thought and consideration. Just didn't want to have any groups feel scared about that and not really know what that means. It can feel very formal to some groups versus yeah, I've seen some groups come in and literally have their pen and paper in hand and have it written down, but they've done their work, and it's very endearing to watch. And so I think it's an important consideration for the group.
Mhm. I like that. Um, Further discussion. And do we have a motion or do we need a recommendation?
Through the chair, I think what the committee may wish to do is to again, I don't know if you want to debate it right now or want to consider it in preparation for your next meeting, but think about what type of schedule or how you would like to direct staff to invite groups to the meetings and initiate that communication strategy. We might want to consider kind of giving that a little bit of thought. You know those groups better than I do. And so to think about what might be appropriate, or, I know on your agenda, you've also got the addition of your meeting frequency. So those things kind of tie into each other as to what might make most sense. And of course, your groups are going to be on their own rotation. Like, for example, the ski hill probably goes in hiatus, over the summer months. And so therefore may not be as active and may want to consider bringing them in at a later point in time versus other groups, of course, might be a bit more flexible. So just food for thought.
Thank you. Director Popoff, go ahead.
And thank you. And through the chair, I thank you for explaining what the regional district is trying to do, and hopefully they are. My feeling is, we're the Slocan Valley Commission, but we would like to be in step with the regional district. If there is a policy being formulated by Mike or our corporate staff regarding this, then I'd like to see their policy and see what the policy is, whether it's a good fit for us in the Slocan Valley or not. But it's a motion, or it was something that's on the table made by Director Gordon, so I'll leave it up to her. Thank you.
And in response, Manager Davison, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. And I just wanted to reassure Director Popoff that as much as there is this work plan item happening in the background, that you shouldn't have fear that what you're considering asking of groups to come and be a part of your meeting when you're making decisions on the amount of funding or funding increases, or whether you're going to continue to fund, different things, to invite them to meetings and ask them to talk about their financial plan, their programs, and what their strategies, or maybe even a small strategic plan, might look like. That would not be out of line with what I would anticipate would come out of a larger RDCK framework going forward. And I just would hate for you to wait for that to happen and not make some of those small steps sooner than later, if that's of interest to the committee.
Okay, thank you. Director Gordon, and then Popoff. Go ahead.
Through the chair to staff, thank you for all that great information. I very much appreciate it. I'm I would like to get this in place sooner than later. So while I agree with Walter, it would be great to be in line with the RDCK. I think we can possibly do some tweaks before then and get a schedule lined up. So maybe if us directors can get together and maybe make a schedule of all the different things and come back to the next meeting with that, I think we could have some good discussion.
Okay, thank you, Director Gordon. Director Popoff, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. the only time that we can get together is at a meeting. We can't get together via email or whatever. That could be construed a meeting, and we have to invite the public, etc. So there is a policy in there that we can't do that. So to move this forward, and I agree with you, we should move it forward. Possibly maybe a motion to invite our grant and aid people before budget time to come as a delegation to our meeting starting this year for the next year's budget. And I'll leave that up to, since it's your item that you brought up, I'll leave it up to Director Gordon to make that motion, and I will second it.
I will make that motion.
So sorry, can you repeat the motion, Director Popoff?
Yeah, in preparation for the 2027 budget, that we extend an invitation to our grant and aid organizations to come as a delegation to do a presentation, their budget presentation for the 2027 year.
Okay. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Director Gordon. Further discussion. Quick question. So with that, are we leaving it with staff to schedule the meetings for those presentations as long as it's prior to the budget?
If I may respond, I would say yes. We as directors can't really extend the invitation, that the staff would extend the invitation to the grant and aid societies that we provide monies to come and as a delegation to our meeting.
Okay.
And we can't, it'd be hard to schedule 3 or 4 delegations at one meeting, so we'd have to spread it out a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just for clarification there. The ball's back in your court. All in favor? That motion passes. Then we had the late item in terms of schedule of meetings. Director Popoff, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll speak to that item. Our bylaw says 4 meetings a year that we have. And time passes quite fast and whatever. And there are times that stuff has happening. So I did a little bit of research on what other services committees meet. The first one that ever got established was back in the East, where ABC and Creston, they meet on a monthly basis. Then I took a look at the Caslow Area D Services Committee. They meet, I think, at the beginning of the year, a couple of times, and then miss a month or 2, and then meet again. So they're sort of ad hoc meetings, but they generally meet twice before budget setting, and that's in the fall, and meet twice in the spring before the budget gets approved in March. So I was thinking if we, and I talked to Stuart on this, our CAO, and he suggested, why don't you bring this forward to your committee and suggest meeting every other month. And the chair, if there's no agenda items to discuss, whatever, can cancel that monthly meeting. So it's always at the discretion of the chair, whether that meeting, but we, going forward, we can start setting every other month meetings if the directors so choose.
Okay. So curious from the other members, what are your thoughts? Go ahead, Director Casely.
But I'm in favor of more of the meetings. What my concern would be is staff's time and cost. As Mayor Gordon pointed out, on a $6,000 or $7,000 request for acquisition, we're paying $2,000 already, and staff needs to be paid. So if we're making them attend more meetings, are those requests are we gonna need more funding out of each one of these services that we're taxation for? And
curious. Any initial thoughts, Manager Davison?
Through the chair, the community services fees do have like a calculation, what is to how they're established. Additional meetings for this service, don't quote me on it, but I don't imagine that to be something that would spike that community services fee. You can, yeah, ask me about that maybe more at budget time when I dig into that a little bit more. But generally speaking, it's the complexity of the service. So like um, obviously the community services fees, like in say the city of Nelson or in Nelson Rec 5 service, are considerably different than what you would see in say Rec 6. So it's I don't imagine that an extra couple of meetings would be the thing that would put that into the next kind of category. So I think, you know, for thinking of the objectives of what you've been talking about tonight, with the goal of having your groups come to your meetings. I think you know, it'd be probably challenging to try to fit them into 4 meetings and have that be well suited to help inform your budget discussions. Like those are already challenging to sort of manage on the 4 meeting schedule with, you know, how you might meet in November and then you're not meeting again until February. And then we're only like a couple of weeks before the budget's approved. So I think maybe there's a bit of a hybrid. Like you might not need to meet, say, in the summer. You might be able to take a longer hiatus in the summer, but maybe between, I don't know, September, October type thing through till May or June, you're maybe meeting every second month. So maybe as opposed to, what would that be? Maybe 5 or meetings or so. So you might be adding 1 or 2 meetings in there. And at a time that might be more critical for the work that you're trying to do. So again, I'm making some broad assumptions that the summer might be quieter, but or even just sometimes more challenging to get everyone together. That you might want to maybe think about the frequency slightly differently, just more based on the demand of the ebb and flow of your committee.
Yes, through the chair. That's what we do with our meeting. We do only one meeting on so staff can have their holidays during July and August, right? Because that's when they like to take it, enjoy some of the summer sometimes. So, yeah, I'm not. We need some more meetings, and you guys can't do it for free, and nor should you. But we still have to be mindful of the amount. You know, general administration fee is $1,000 on, like, again, on a $7,000 acquisition, which makes it up to $9,000 through both those. That's $2,000, right? So that's a significant amount of money to a service. I'm in favor of more meetings. If we could find out what it means, like if it means an extra $20, you know, brings or whatever, it's worth it. But
So I'm curious, our next meeting is when?
August 27th.
August 27th. Does the committee think we need to meet before August 27th? Or would it, or shall we reschedule or have a new schedule proposed for the 27th? Go ahead, Director Popoff.
Yeah, you know, a good discussion, and Director Casey brings up a good point. We don't have to enact that in 2026. We can go with our schedule that we have now. We've already have a schedule adopted, and if we need an extra meeting for budget purposes in the fall, we'll do an extra meeting. But that's something to think about for 2027 and put it in our budget. You know, we've already established. I just brought this up for discussion. If there was any support in having a couple of 2 extra meetings throughout the year to conduct our business. So I will not make a motion.
You will not make a motion. Okay. And something for us to all think about too. This is a new structure, new governance structure. So we're just all getting our feet underneath us, and there's some great ideas that have come up this evening as well, just in terms of inviting folks, and that might become a regular schedule that may require a separate meeting just for that piece. So yeah, let it percolate, and we'll see how things go. And we can always propose a new meeting too at our next meeting if you're thinking about it, and so okay, great discussion. Public time. So we have the Valley Voice and we have Doug. Any comments for the committee? Questions?